Now funding on Kickstarter a brand new set of Halloween mask pins, vintage style pins designed by me, Kneon. Check it out at halloween.ninja. That's halloween.ninja.
So Paramount is probably going to be faced with more issues because the WGA is trying to seek a preliminary injunction again to halt them even further, I think, than they've already been halted by the attorney generals, because at this point they've already been halted, so I'm not sure what the point is, but other than to waste, union members' money. But here comes the WGA, because they never stay down, and they have to put their nose into everything, and I don't think it's going to go the way they think it's going to go, because they already had enough problems with job losses. And then, we already talked about the fact that if this doesn't go through, that Warner Brothers would probably just be sold off in pieces to other studios. It's not going to remain Warner Brothers as it is. It's not sustainable. So, they spin off Discovery, they're still going to sell off all the assets of Warner Brothers, which means that there's still going to be a job loss. And these dumbasses just keep trying to push it. And they're trying to say it's this huge percent of the market share, but Disney is bigger. I don't know where they're getting their numbers from, because that's not the facts. So we're going to look at this. It is me, Geeky Sparkles. I am here by myself for this video because Kneon is elsewhere, but he's coming back in a bit. Woohoo! And I'm supposed to remind you that you need to check out more.clownfishtv.com if you want some other content that's not available over here. Also, we're out there for podcasts. Wherever you find podcasts, you can find us there if you prefer to listen to it that way. Please leave, a 5-star review if you can. Apparently, I'm supposed to say that. So we're going to go to the important stuff, which is this. Yeah, so Deadline has it. The Writers Guild seeks preliminary injunction to halt Paramount Warner Bros. Discovery merger. That's a mouthful. Once case timing aligned with state AG suit. I'm sure it does, because it's trying to cause even more trouble. Again, I'm not sure how they think this is going to go for them, because if Paramount, they were kind of pissy about Netflix too, but they were more willing to accept that. But now they're really mad about Paramount, and it's all because of the connections, I think, in my opinion, to Trump and CNN. But they're arguing there's going to be fewer jobs. I argue there's going to be a hell of a lot fewer jobs if Warner Brothers piecemeals it off and shuts down. And as far as the Attorney General for the state in California is concerned, there's going to be a hell of a lot less tax money if they shut Warner Brothers down and then Paramount takes what they want and moves out. They're just, cutting off their nose to spite their face at this point. It's absolutely ridiculous. They're trying to argue it's going to have this huge market share, but Disney's market share would probably still remain larger overall. And they keep ignoring that part. And they're just trying to cause as much problems as possible. And they're also forgetting that, according to reports, Ellison was out there trying to get tax incentives and more money for the studios in California as a whole, so there'd be better job security and more jobs for these people. And this is how they behave. I don't think he's going to try too hard to help you when you're acting this way. So they said the Writers Guild of America is seeking a preliminary injunction to at least temporarily halt Paramount's proposed merger with Warner Bros. Discovery, hoping to align the timing with the Attorney General's case. The motion was filed Wednesday in Oakland, and the WGA's legal team, how much is this costing the members, by the way, argued that the transaction is presumably illegal in the market for writing services for anticipated top-grossing films, noting the combined companies have a 30% share of the market. No, they won't. They don't have a 35% share of, maybe if you count streaming or something too, but I don't even think it's that high. As far as theatrical goes, Disney has 28%. Warner Brothers has 21%. If you merge Paramount with Warner Brothers, it's like 27%. It is in no way, shape, or form 35% of the market. Even if there's a couple other things they're figuring in there, it's not 35% of the market. That's just, no. That's not what it is. They said the WGA added it would eliminate head-to-head competition between two close competitors whose competition is vital for WGA writers. How is it going to eliminate head-to-head competition? Oh, because you're going to own Warner Brothers, but there's still a bunch of other studios out there. You didn't worry about head-to-head competition a few years ago when Disney bought Fox. You didn't care about that. But now, this instance is bad. The double standard is just mind-blowing. Personally, at this point, I think y'all deserve what you get. So if it falls through, I low-key kind of hope it does, just because it'll bite you in the ass. and a lot of you people across the board who are behaving this way deserve it. Now people are gonna be like, well, you just because you're a Trump supporter. I don't even like Trump. I'm independent. And here's the kicker, because I could think for myself. I don't need a hive mind to tell me what to think. I know it's a hard concept for some of these people in Hollywood to understand, but it exists. The issue is Netflix. I said at the time when Netflix was getting ready to close on the deal and Paramount came in, I thought that was wrong because Netflix has already had the deal accepted. But this is how business works. It happens all the time with hostile takeover stuff. It's how it works. But you guys are going to try to do this and try to use legal means to stop it, then you're going to get what you deserve. All right, because it's going to bite you in the ass hard. And considering how many job losses there has been since your strike fiasco, they said from 2022 to 2023 there was a bunch of jobs lost. They said there was 1,300 total jobs lost then, and then some of them were the higher paying jobs, and they've lost a bunch more since then, and it can all be traced back to the strikes because you dumbasses at WGA, and I'll say this 100 times over, went out there and were demanding writers' room guarantees and all this idiocy. And they stalled you out, used the excuse to shut down a bunch of shows they probably shouldn't have greenlit in the first place. And it was oversaturated and you were overhired. You don't need 20, 30 people in a writer's room. You don't. That's what they were doing. They were getting in, getting their friends in, getting their friends' dogs in, and then, trying to sit and squat, and half of them weren't even working and getting paid for it. I'm sorry. Cry harder. It is what it is. And we've been saying that for a while, that some of your asks about at the time about protections for AI and things about pay and stuff like that were warranted. But other things like your guaranteed writer's room minimum and stuff like that was absolute moronic dog shit. And it bit you in the ass. So what, you think the other cheek needs bit too? Because that's what this is going to do. If you think the jobs were scarce before, I'm not really sure how you think that this is going to do better for you. Yeah, they're gonna give us lower rates because the competition isn't there. There's still a whole bunch of other studios to compete against. And is it getting something better than nothing? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. This is just, I can't even wrap my head around this one. So they're arguing this stuff, and I don't even think some of the arguments are true. They said that WGA also argued that it met other thresholds for obtaining a preliminary injunction, including that a merger would generate irreparable harm and that a merger would be virtually impossible to unwind and would render any eventual divestiture remedy ineffective. Okay, well, why aren't you trying to get Disney to divest, 20th century or 21st century, whatever it is now? Why aren't you getting Disney to try to divest a lot of that stuff? They keep getting caught screwing over consumers and using their size to leverage major carriage deals that are ridiculously expensive for a lot of stuff people don't want, and it's biting them in the butt. But I don't see you arguing against that. But this instance, and plus there's been a whole bunch of studios in the last couple of years have been gobbled up. MGM got bought by Amazon. I think it's Amazon. A bunch of other places have been bought up by other studios. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. Because you're going about the competition. I'm like, there's fewer studios now than ever because they've been merging over the last, few decades. It's not a new thing. But now this one in particular matters. They said that the WGA legal team also wrote that the balance of equities favor an injunction because the public interest is in preserving competition and the imminent threat of writers suffering competitive harm from lost employment opportunities that you did to yourselves, I want to remind you. Okay, suppress compensation and narrow creative possibilities. Well, what the fuck do you think possibilities are going to be if it's gone? All right. Yeah, other studios might buy pieces of it and they want to acquire that IP. Doesn't mean they're going to make more. Doesn't mean that because they buy this or that or whatever, that means that they might just run the old films in their library. Doesn't mean that because they have the IP, they're going to make more and you're going to get more work. Doesn't mean that at all. And if they piecemeal that off to all other places and Warner Brothers is gone and it has like a 21% market share, I would argue that the market's going to be infinitely smaller than if Paramount bought it. You guys are being stupid for the sake of being stupid. I don't know what to tell you. You're these it's on your head. You're making up this stuff that's actually going to come to pass if you win. Like, for sure it's going to happen. It doesn't compute. Like, I don't understand what you're thinking. they're saying that it would okay. They said, moreover, any harm defendants may suffer from delayed closing is self-inflicted as a result of their own bargaining agreement. Okay, what that's about is we're talking about the ticking fee. So if they don't close, again, I thought it was earlier than this, but it's September 30th. They don't close by September 30th. They got to pay per day to shareholders, which we talked about. So the implication is they're trying to stall them out to make them miss their deadline to cost them more money. Is I think what they're trying to do. Now, the courts are going to hear it again, in August, well before the end of September. So they're saying it's not going to cause them harm like Paramount's trying to claim it's going to cause them harm. The court says probably not, because you still have weeks and weeks and weeks. It's not going to delay your closure at this point in time. If they keep pushing it and delaying it longer and longer, it actually could, and that's going to cost them a lot of money, which is what I think they're trying to do at the end of the day. Again, real smart when, he's out here trying to get you guys, when David Ellison's out here trying to get you guys tax breaks and stuff so you have more jobs and more money. So yeah, but the TDS is just insane to me. So they're back to this. They're talking about, they said that, the judge granted the attorney general's the restraining order. Basically, they don't think it's going to hurt the tick fee and all that, because it's going to take a lot longer. They have until the end of September. They have plenty of time. So they're going to have a hearing on August 3rd. In a separate motion, WGA legal team wrote that they seek to full alignment only if it can be done without altering the state's litigation schedule. If this is not feasible, plaintiffs respectfully request a separate but similarly expedited schedule. Basically, we want it with them, but if not, can you do it longer? Do our our pause for us, our injunction? I don't know. This is ridiculous, but I want to point out some things here. So the box office market share, first we talked about that. Disney has 28%, Warner Bros. 21%, Paramount 6%, that is 27%, not 35%. But back to the movie closures. Here's the history of some different movie studios. This is entertainmentstrategyguy.com. And he's showing some different things and how it's consolidated over the years. Universal still, doing what it's been doing. Paramount bought Miramax. Okay, so Paramount, which, now Skydance is merged with Paramount, but they had Miramax, so they already bought one before this. Warner Brothers is going to be sold. 20th Century Fox got sold to Disney. Sony was Columbia, and then and then they got TriStar. So Sony has Columbia and TriStar. So they already merged those two. United Artists kind of went out. MGM got, they acquired United Artists, that MGM got bought, I think, by Amazon. So there's an MGM's rolled into another one. Disney bought Fox up here. This is what I'm saying. They're already merging, and it was okay when they bought those. Like when they bought MGM, nothing. When these other places bought other studios, it went through no problem. But this one's the issue. And I would argue Disney buying Fox was a much, much, much bigger, problem, because they took a big, huge market share because they merged the two. It made them much bigger. And you're trying to argue, that this is bad, but that was okay. That's what I don't understand. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But now that the WGA, because they have so much time on their hands and so much money, and they've learned absolutely nothing from the last time, is now going out there and they're trying to start litigation and trying to get injunctions and all this stuff. Now, I'm noticing the other guilds aren't really doing that, but WGA, because they can't stop putting their nose in everything. The WGA, who was in trouble because they stalled their own staff union out for weeks until they were running out of stuff because they wouldn't give them a deal. They're mad because they may lose writers' jobs. WGA, who I also want to point out, is trying to unionize things like podcast writers and stuff like that, because they're shrinking so bad from the job losses that they're trying to reach out and trying to enforce places like YouTube and podcasting to make them part of the union and put that and unionize those people so they have more control, more due payers, that kind of stuff. And they're losing their shit over this because it's gonna cause more job losses. Again, which will lose more jobs? If Paramount buys Warner Brothers, or if Warner Brothers is gone. 21% market share in Warner Brothers, guys. 21% of this do. And all that's going to be is piecemealed off. And damn well Disney's going to buy a bunch more. It'll make Disney bigger. You think they'll stop that? Probably not. Where will be your competitive, lack of competition for higher wages then? I don't understand I don't understand the thought process. Like, I don't understand what you're thinking at all. Let me go see if there's any comments on this on Deadline. I don't know if there are. No, I don't think there's any comments yet for this one. I just can't wrap my head around how they're rationalizing this. Like, it doesn't compute. I get why you don't want them to buy it. A lot of it has to do with, TDS, I think. But I just don't understand what you're thinking here. So anyway, there you go. Another wrinkle. Now the WGA's in there. They're filing legal action too. I'm sure by tomorrow somebody else will file legal action, and someone's dog will file legal action, and everything else. And at this point in time, as I've said before, I kind of low-key hope it all falls apart, just because the fallout will be epic. And they kind of brought it upon themselves, just like they're trying to argue. They can't argue that it's going to cost them money with their taker, because they made that deal. That was their fault. Well, you can't argue when you lose more damn jobs, because this is your deal and you made your bet. Same with what happened with the strikes. Guess who's not joining the WGA anytime soon? I'm sure I'm not welcome over there, because I'll call bullshit when I see it. Anyway, there you go. Comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Now funding on Kickstarter a brand new set of Halloween mask pins, vintage style pins designed by me, Kneon. Check it out at halloween.ninja. That's halloween.ninja.